When you see the headlines today about war and geopolitics, it all feels, well, kind of distant, right? But for me, this story is anything but. It's incredibly personal because my family and I were caught right in the middle of it all.
Look, I've made a lot of explainers on wars before, but wow, it has never, ever felt this personal. And that's because until yesterday morning, I was literally in Dubai with my family. We were on vacation, and that sense of peace, it was about to be completely shattered. We were staying out on the Palm Jumeirah, and then we saw it. An explosion and a fire tearing through the Fairmont Hotel just across the street from where we were staying. I mean, literally right across the road from where we were sleeping. That was the first sign, the first hint that the world was changing right outside our window. We got so lucky. Our flight took off really early in the morning and everything seemed totally normal. But then, a couple of hours into the flight, the news started to break. And when we landed, that's when we saw the full reality of what we had just barely escaped. Dubai's airport was being evacuated, drones were being shot down over the city, and get this, my own family members who were supposed to be on a later flight were stranded. Their flights canceled. As I'm recording this, they're still stuck at the airport.
So what on earth was actually happening on the ground while we were thousands of feet in the air? Well, all that chaos, it was the immediate fallout of a massive, coordinated military campaign. Let's break down what we know about Operation Epic Fury. And here it is. This is the headline that's changing everything. The United States and Israel have launched a full-scale military attack on Iran. And we're not talking about a single isolated strike here. Officials are making it very clear this is going to be a multi-day campaign. The official name is Operation Epic Fury, and according to U.S. officials, its goal is pretty absolute, to destroy Iran's missile industry, and I'm quoting here, to the ground. Right now, as we speak, bombs are falling on major Iranian cities like Tehran and Isfahan. And from what we're hearing, the targeting has been incredibly specific. It's not just about infrastructure. Former President Trump actually commented on this, saying the goal was to take out the key decision-makers. And that strategy, well, it seems to have led to the single most shocking development of this whole thing. This is huge, and it's been confirmed by Iranian state TV itself, so this isn't just a rumor. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has been killed. He was in his office when a strike hit his compound. And it wasn't just him. Reports say his daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter were also killed, along with several top military commanders who were with him in a defense meeting. Okay, so the death of the supreme leader, that was the spark that lit the fuse. Iran's response was swift, it was massive, and it wasn't just aimed at Israel. The entire Middle East is now on fire, being pulled into this conflict. Iran launched its counteroffensive almost immediately, calling it Operation True Promise 4. And just look at the targets. It goes way beyond Israel. They're hitting key Gulf nations, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait. And why them? Because they all host major U.S. military bases. And that's exactly why we're now seeing reports of explosions in places like Dubai, the same city my family was trying to fly out of just hours ago. The scale of this retaliation is just staggering. I mean, Iran's Revolutionary Guard is claiming they've attacked 27 different American military bases across the region. 27. To put that into perspective for you, we have confirmation of a direct hit on the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. So let's be clear. This isn't some proxy war anymore. This is a direct, nation-to-nation fight. Okay, so you might be sitting there thinking, why does this matter to me, especially for a country like India? Well, the cost, both human and economic, is absolutely huge, and it's going to ripple out far, far beyond the Middle East. Just try to wrap your head around this. Over 10 million Indians live and work in these Gulf countries that are now under missile fire. 10 million. There are another 18,000 students just in Israel. These aren't just numbers on a screen. They're people, friends, family members, caught in the crossfire. And then there's the civilian toll, which is just horrific. We've had confirmed reports that a primary school for girls in Manab, Iran was bombed, killing at least 100 children. Now, on the economic side, the danger really comes down to one single vital waterway. More than half of all of India's crude oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz. And right now, that strait is the dead center of this conflict. If something happens here, it's not just a regional problem. We're talking about a potential global energy crisis. So here's how this could play out. It's like a chain reaction, and experts are literally calling this India's nightmare scenario. If Iran makes good on its threat and closes the Strait of Hormuz, that's it. A supply of 2.6 million barrels of oil a day, just gone. What happens next? Shipping costs go through the roof, fuel prices skyrocket, and that leads to massive inflation that is going to hit every single one of us right in the wallet.
You know, something this big doesn't just happen overnight. It didn't come out of a vacuum. So to really understand how we got here, we've got to rewind a bit and look at what's been happening over the past few months.
And the path to this war was incredibly fast. It started late last year, with Iran's economy collapsing, which kicked off the biggest protests in the country's history. Then, just a few weeks ago, the U.S. started the largest military buildup in the Middle East since the Iraq War. But the most tragic part of this whole story? The timing. Just one day before the bombs started falling, Oman's finance minister said a peace deal was within reach. The very next day, a rain of bombs.
So, despite all that last-minute talk of peace, a new report from the Washington Post is suggesting this attack was, well, anything but spontaneous. It claims the whole operation was actually planned for months, and that officials from both Saudi Arabia and Israel were heavily lobbying for it to happen. And all of this brings us to the biggest, most important question, really. What's the end goal here? Is this really about freedom for the Iranian people, or are we watching the beginning of a new, even more dangerous kind of chaos?
But the stated goal, the official line that's being put out there by people like former President Trump, is pretty clear. The message they're sending to the Iranian people is basically, we're clearing out the bad guys. When we're done, you can take over your government. But if this all sounds familiar, it's because it is. We've seen this script play out before, haven't we? Remember, the stated goal for removing dictators like Saddam Hussein in Iraq and Gaddafi in Libya was also freedom and democracy. But what was the actual outcome? A massive power vacuum, decades of instability, worse living conditions for regular people, and the rise of new, even more terrifying terror groups.
And so that's where we are now, left with this really critical question. Is history about to repeat itself? Will this intervention actually bring the freedom that was promised? Or will it just unleash a whole new kind of chaos across the entire Middle East? I guess only time will tell.